I'm Bruce Marshall. This is the Brampton Now update for the week ending the November 7th, 8th weekend 2020. This is a succinct once-a-week hotshot of everything important that has happened in Brampton the previous week and what's coming up. Brampton, unbought and unbiased. Coming up, the province moves to a new framework for COVID. Brampton reopens dining, but not as wide open as we had hoped earlier this week. Remembrance Day is coming up. Some of my thoughts on that coming up on the Marshall Rant. Details on that and more coming up on this Brampton Now update. The top stories this week in Brampton. Brampton was expected to move to a more liberal set of pandemic restrictions on Saturday, but due to spiking COVID cases, Peel Region will now stay at the red level. Bars, restaurants, and such can reopen, but with much reduced numbers. Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Lawrence Lowe, sounded his usual note of caution at the City Press Conference on Wednesday.
I must be clear. All of our metrics are going in the wrong direction. Peel is seeing the highest rates of case and test positivity in the province. Much of this activity is localized in Brampton. And while Peel Public Health is still contact tracing, our capacity is increasingly being challenged. That means that if public health is overwhelmed at some point, hospitals will be next.
Mayor Brown talked about the move to the new framework on Saturday.
With the framework, it's proposed that restaurants, bars, and fitness facilities will be able to reopen in Brampton effective Saturday, November 7th.
Mayor Brown went on to outline the argument he made to the province about bars, restaurants, and gyms.
Restaurants were not a source of major outbreaks. We didn't have a single in-dining incident in the city of Brampton. It was not a source of our COVID challenges. And so the fact that this has been revisited and restaurants are open, I think is encouraging news.
In a moment, restaurants will reopen, but that doesn't mean they'll stay open. They have to run the safety programs. Mayor Brown with more on that ahead on the Brampton Now update.
Hi, my name is 𝗕𝗿𝗺 and I'm a fire prevention officer with Brampton Fire and Emergency Services. November 1st to 7th is Carbon Monoxide Awareness Week, and this year our team is Protect Yourself from the Invisible Killer. Did you know that in Ontario, 65% of all carbon monoxide death and injuries occur in the home because you cannot see, smell, or taste carbon monoxide? Some of the mild symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning includes headaches, dizziness, nausea, and in some worst case, loss of consciousness or death. Protect yourself and your family by installing a working carbon monoxide alarm beside all sleeping area and test it monthly. Remember, working carbon monoxide alarm saves lives.
This is the Brampton Now update. I'm Bruce Marshall. While the province moves to a new framework and we cautiously reopen some businesses in Brampton, the mayor sounds a note of caution.
Reopening for restaurants, there comes a responsibility. We know that in the summer they were very diligent following public health advice. And they're going to have to continue to do so. If it comes out that the picture changes and restaurants become a source for the spread, they will be shut down.
And so that was the city's press conference on Wednesday. Then, with COVID numbers spiking on Friday, the province decided not to move Peel to orange after all. We will stay at the red level. This means that rather than having a maximum of 50 people indoors, we can have a maximum of 10 generally. Here's the new framework the province announced last week. There are 5 levels: prevent, protect, restrict, control, and lockdown. At this point in Peel Region, we are at red or control. Peel is the only region in Ontario now with such strict controls in place. In a moment, city budget deliberations have started. Talk of a 2.3% tax hike for 2021. Coming up on the Brampton Now update. I'm Bruce Marshall, and this is the Brampton Now Update. The early draft of the Brampton City budget shows a need to raise taxes 2.3% for 2021. The city would take 0.9% of that, and the region 1.3%, and the school boards nothing. The pandemic has caused wholesale changes in the way municipalities operate. Streams of revenue like community center charges are drying up, at least for the time being. In other areas, costs are going through the roof. Now, it should be said that it's hoped that other levels of government will step up and hopefully negate the need for these tax increases, or at least reduce the need. However, the City of Brampton will host an online town hall on the whole matter on November 12th, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Details are at brampton.ca/budget. The budget is expected to be finalized at the December 9th council meeting. In a moment, what's ahead in Brampton this weekend and what's coming up this week. Plus, ahead, my Marshall Rant on the Brampton Now Update. You're watching Brampton Now Update. I'm Bruce Marshall. This weekend and ahead in Brampton, Branch 15 of the Legion, that's the one downtown, have their meat pie sale on next week. Orders have to be into Branch 15 of the Legion by next Thursday, and then the orders will be picked up sometime after that. William Osler Health System Foundation has launched its first ever 50-50 draw to raise funds for equipment. You can purchase 50-50 lottery tickets at www.𝗕𝗿𝗺5050.ca. The grand prize draw takes place on November 20th, with the winner being announced at the Osler Foundation's virtual gala benefit concert, a free virtual show with Jessica Holmes and Sarah McLachlan. You can register for the complimentary virtual gala benefit concert by visiting oslerconcert.ca. Boys and Girls Club of Peel has started soliciting donations for the Christmas Hamper program. You can go to bgcpeel.org for information on how to help out. The Journey Neighborhood Center, with 2 Brampton program locations, opened a thrift store in downtown Brampton. Journey Thrift is on Nelson Street near the YMCA. Brampton Music Theatre continues a fundraising contest called Catch the Ace. It's at bmtcatchtheace.ca. BMT also continues online training programs and concerts on their website at bramptonmusictheatre.com, or like them on Facebook. Diwali, the Festival of Light, celebrated by a number of South Asian faiths, begins next Saturday. Coming up, the Marshall Rant. Remembrance Day is coming up. Let's support our veterans all year long. Next on the Brampton Now Update.
This is your invitation to go beyond sightseeing, to engage in our traditions. Come experience something new, yet centuries old, and give in to your sense of adventure. Experience our country's history and heritage. Discover your authentic Indigenous experience at indigenous-tourism.ca.
I'm Bruce Marshall, and this is the Marshall Rant. Remembrance Day is coming up next week, our annual pause to remember those who gave all and those who gave some, serving in the Canadian military. I'm a veteran. It's not something I've worn lightly. I served about 7 years in the Canadian Forces Reserves, and I never did a deployment. By my mind, a veteran is someone who actually went on a deployment. But this federal government is trying to right the country's relationship with those who served in the Canadian Forces. And that includes integrating people like me who did a few years' service in the reserves. So I accept that if the federal government considers me a veteran, I am a veteran. And I guess if I'm going to accept it, I have to accept the responsibilities that go along with it. So as one of those rare things, a Canadian veteran, I want to tell you how much I appreciate that the country pauses for a moment to remember those who really served, those who gave all. Afghanistan, we lost more than a dozen, including Canada's first female frontline combat casualty, Captain Nicola Goddard, who was targeted for execution because she was so good at killing the Taliban. Of course, there are those who are gone now. All from World War I are gone, including my grandfather, who left for Europe from downtown Toronto in the last year of the war, 1918. They're all gone mostly, too, from the Second World War. But it seems that as the years roll on from those families where people served, the memories of their service continues. They shall not grow old. But due to the determination of their families, they, too, will not be forgotten. That's a beautiful thing. Of course, in more recent times, besides Afghanistan, Canada and Canadians have served around the world as peacekeepers, a Canadian invention, but one that has also meant casualties. In many ways, Remembrance Day is a bigger deal now today than it was in years gone by. But it won't be a public display this year. The City of Brampton is moving their service online this year at 𝗕𝗿𝗺𝗺𝗺𝗐𝗍. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was support for veterans all year long. We have such a small number of people who do the dirty work for our country. There are many who served during the Afghan years who did 2 and 3 tours of duty. Where a country really supports its veterans is illustrated by how those veterans are treated. And I think I could say that veterans groups are cautiously optimistic in the way things are going for veterans and those still serving right now, with a need for improvement. If you support our troops, I urge you to know about some of the real issues veterans face. Know where your MP stands on those issues and let your MP know how you feel. That is how you can really support veterans. Oh, and if you're looking for a meaningful Remembrance Day activity, all the records of those who served for Canada in World War I are now online at the National Archives. You can look up your own relatives who served. I found my grandfather's record and spent hours with it. According to the record, my grandfather went to a field hospital with lung problems 7 days after the war stopped on November 11th, 1918. That turned into flu, which he recovered from, of course, part of the great pandemic of 1918, 102 years ago this month. What a way to honor those who served than to look into their lives at a moment in time in their personal records. It's a spine-tingling read, I find. Simply search your relative's name and as much information as you can at the Archives Canada website. What do you think? Leave your comments below or get back to me. I'm Bruce Marshall, and that's it for this week. Please subscribe to the Brampton Now Update channel on YouTube or follow #MarshallMinute on Facebook for lots of Brampton Need to Know that you won't find anywhere else. Your comments and suggestions are always welcome, and if you've got a Brampton story to tell, get in touch with me through the channel you're watching on right now. Stay strong, Brampton. Brampton strong. We're all in this together. I'm Bruce Marshall. Thanks for watching Brampton Now Update.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.